So it's a sort of like love and death and the colony and all these kind of different things like mixed up in that. Hi, I'm Hannah Black, and I'm an artist and writer, and I'm showing some videos here at OGR, and I'm also doing a performance tonight. So the screening is a number of videos from previous shows. One is a 5-screen installation of which is a video called Beginning and None, which is kind of intended as a kind of expanded critique in video form of a kind of popular science analogy of the biological cell as a factory. Any combination of like science and analogy is always, or political combination of that is always like open to horrific misuse or whatever. So you could kind of maybe re-analogize the cell to not be so much like a factory and more like something more, you know, something less violent than a factory. I was like, one of them is 2 videos from a show at that was at Eden, which is one of Isabella galleries in Berlin, and that show was in like late 2018, and that show was kind of loosely around cannibalism, but I tried to kind of approach the kind of concept of cannibalism from multiple different angles. So I mean, which is often what I try and do. Like I try and kind of I try and use concepts ambivalently. Cannibalism was both standing in for a kind of what could be a kind of digestive process of like love or mourning or whatever, where you like take on you kind of how do we integrate each other and integrate our kind of relational experiences into our sense of self. And then also it was in a more kind of cannibalism was also being used in a more kind of exact like historical sense, which was the kind of various accounts, and I was drawing very heavily on various like Marxist historical accounts. I still hold to the perhaps overly poetic and romantic and impossible in current social conditions thing that Karl Marx said about the kind of image of the artist. As he references John Milton, the poet in particular, as like the artist is someone who kind of creates from their own nature, like a spider spins silk. Like of course art is in fact like hypermediated, professionalized and so on, but I think there's some sense that in order to make the whole thing bearable you have to be kind of acting from your own nature, and one thing I'm really consistently interested in is just is intense conversations with people. They're all themed to some extent around interview. I mean, even Beginning and None, it has a couple of interviews in it. Like you hear me interviewing a scientist over the phone, and you hear me interviewing another scientist who's like this German woman who is working at a lab that does cell kind of imaging, and she was actually quite helpful. She's like a main interlocutor. Both apocalypse and utopia, which are partly imaginary and partly real, it must be that they both currently exist in current social conditions. Like they're not like future horizons, or they are future horizons, but only because we already have them with us and they're already kind of like very close to hand. For the performance tonight, me and my friend and fellow artist Precious Okoyomon are gonna we're gonna interview each other in a quasi-psychoanalytic style, so that's a sort of way to kind of reference or reflect on the experience of all these interviews. Yeah, I don't feel that art's therapeutic, and I think I've become really much more critical of the idea that art's therapeutic. I don't think that means it doesn't have like any like good social effects. I just don't think that an artwork is a therapy, kind of. It's just an experience that's hopefully weird. And every weird experience offers some possibility that things could be slightly different after it. That's why people kind of go for it, I guess. That's why people are interested in weirdness. But yeah.